This is the Free Heel Life Podcast, episode number 77. I'm your host, Josh Madsen, coming at you from the Free Heel Life shop in Salt Lake City, Utah. And welcome back, my friends. It's Monday. And as always, I've got more Telemark goodness for you today. So before I hop into it, newsroom and notes. It's hot outside. It's the off season for most of us. And with that, we're preparing for next year mostly, starting to put some content together. But we do have new content going up on telemarkskier.com. Would love for you to check that out and become a subscriber. I had a little bit of news regarding the Free Heel Life Protector skis. We've had an overwhelming response of people that are interested in these. We are currently, I think if you listen to the podcast previously, I mentioned that we were most likely going to cap this summer production off at about 35 skis. That is more than full at this point, and I do have a waiting list. So if you listen to the podcast, you have not heard from us, most likely you're on the waiting list portion, and what we're doing is kind of going through that initial 35 and just figuring out who's serious, who's not, and going one by one based on who contacted us. So with that said, be patient. We appreciate all the support. This is a really fun project, and we're really excited to get it going, and we want to do it right. So we're going piece by piece, and we will be in touch. So other than that, sign up for the mailing list. That's the best way to stay in touch with us. It's always in the note link below wherever you are getting your podcast, and that is a great way to keep in touch with what we are doing. As far as other content going out, we are going to be winding down and doing more intermittent releases with Dosty's View on YouTube and the Lowdown with Taylor Johnson, simply because it's summer months and there's no need to overkill it. So we're going to keep the blood flowing for those that are interested. And other than that, we will be starting to stack stuff for the upcoming season. And yeah, just keep you in the loop with whatever is going on. And I will keep doing the podcast. So today's guest is from Massachusetts, and he grew up skiing on the East Coast and in New England, and then went to college at Western State in Colorado near Crested Butte. He's always had an interest in instruction and racing. I've gotten to know him through the USTSA organization, the United States Telemark Ski Association, and kind of through his efforts in that. He is the current vice president of the USTSA, and he is also a level 3 PSIA certified instructor, and is now, as of a few weeks ago, the newest member, one of 2 members of a specific Telemark national demo team. And I really had a great conversation with him, and I hope you enjoy it too. So please welcome to the Free Heel Life Podcast, Keith Rodney. All right, Keith, welcome to the Free Heel Life Podcast. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, man. I feel like we kind of crisscrossed paths over the years in various racing places. I think is mostly where it crisscrossed. But where do you? I don't even know. Where do you live right now? You're East Coast guy, right?
So I'm an East Coast guy, and I live just down the street, about 6 miles away in southern Vermont. Mount Snow is my home base.
Oh, okay. So right off Route 100, right?
Yep, right off 100.
Okay, nice. I feel like that's like the Mecca road of all Vermont skiing, it seems like.
All but 2.
Is it really?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because what do you got? You got Mount Snow, you got Okemo there, you've got... what else is
Mount Snow, Okemo, Killington, Sugarbush, and in a roundabout weird way, you also get Stowe.
And kind of Jay's at the end of it, right? Jay's at the top of 100. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are a little stretchy, but they're there. And then within a mile of within a mile of 100, you have Mad River Glen, and further south by me would be Magic, and then 4 miles out you got Stratton. Oh, and 8 miles you Bromley. So there's a lot.
That's so crazy. Yeah, I guess they really are all kind of in the same zone.
Oh, they really are.
That's cool. Good. Are you from Vermont originally?
I am originally from Boston.
Oh, okay. Like
full on like suburbs guy.
Okay, nice. Did you grow up skiing in Mass then?
I didn't really grow up skiing. I was 17 before I started skiing, and my dad took me to a little mountain south. That I forgot, Haystack.
Haystack? Oh wow, that's what it's called.
Yep, Haystack Mountain. It's a hill, and it is 2 miles south of Mount Snow. There's a ridge where you can actually ski from Mount Snow to Haystack.
But it's not. It doesn't operate anymore, right?
No. So it operated till '98, and then it closed down. And then a few years ago, a private organization bought it and turned it into a private club. Huh. And then it went a little funky for a little while, and then the membership just bought it last season, even during COVID. So the members now own it. Huh. And so this will be new ownership. We just finished year 1 with a new ownership.
Wow. All right. So you didn't grow up skiing, but you started when you were 17. And then did you just kind of, I guess, what did you grow up doing, in Boston? Were you more like sports guy, like playing sports and doing stuff like that? Or what was
really, a lot of it was, I was a builder. I would full on build things I've got a picture of me standing on a ladder when I was 2, with an old kid's tool belt on, and whether it be tree forts or stuff like that. And then, I didn't really, the typical thing, my parents didn't roll me into like softball or baseball or stuff like that. But in my mid-teens, I started racing sailboats.
Oh, wow. Okay. I always forget about that because like a lot of East Coast people are into sailing, and I'm completely landlocked here in Utah, so that like literally never crosses my mind. Never. Like I mean, Vermont kind of causes the landlock issue as well. No, that's funny, and I always forget how popular that is for people that like are on the coast there. Because even growing up going to California and stuff, it was more like, cool, we're going to the ocean, but it wasn't like sailing to. I didn't know anybody who sailed. I guess that's kind of the end of the story, but
yeah,
that's cool. Well,
I get that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure because if you're from Boston, I mean that's like heavy for the sports. I mean, you got Red Sox, you got hockey and basketball, or big Celtics, Bruins, right?
Definitely the Bruins. But growing up in the Boston area, what's funny is when you grow up, you're forced into liking the Red Sox. It's not an option; you'll get beat up otherwise. And then there's these other sports that are involved only because the Red Sox aren't playing. The Bruins, the Patriots.
That's hilarious.
And I mean, what helped kind of solidify that is to help date myself. I went to high school with Kevin McHale's kids, who was one of the top NBA players
on the Celtics.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, so you're into building, which now you became a builder, right? You're a builder by trade now.
Correct. When I'm not on snow, I build cabinets and furniture and also remodeling. But I'm the guy that you call when you have specialty work to be done.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome, man. And then, so does the ski bug start right at 17? Like you go skiing and you're just like, oh, I need to be doing this every winter? Is that kind of how it went, or was it like a slow burn kind of thing?
Oh, no, we're talking full on dump truck full of gunpowder. My father met one of the myriad of women in his life who was a good influence. Met this young lady who wanted to take him skiing. So he went skiing on Thanksgiving and really enjoyed it and said, "Hey, let's do this Christmas." And so we spent Christmas in the Mount Snow area at Haystack. And I learned to ski. And how do I describe this? Yep, found out exactly what I was designed to do.
So it was pretty apparent, like right off the bat. You're like, "Oh, I need to be doing this in the wintertime."
Oh, it was like, okay, let's figure out how to do it. It took me a few years to not be bad at it, though. Once you get off the bunny hill, it totally changes everything. That took a little bit. But the first 3 years of my skiing, 17 through 20, I spent every penny I could earn on lift tickets.
Wow. Did you end up, and I mean,
wasn't that many.
Yeah. I mean, back then, hopefully you could afford more than you do now. But I mean, and I mean, for people that aren't from the East Coast of the U.S., I mean, Boston is a pretty good location to get to a lot of these Vermont resorts. It's not the distance. I mean, what is it? A couple hours to get up to where you're talking about, Mount Snowish, that kind of area?
Yeah. So we were 2.5 hours to Mount Snow from my home. A little further because I drive over to my buddy's house, and he had the vehicle that could make it, and my vehicle wouldn't. So we picked the car that was more reliable, which one allows us to get to the resort and then breaks down as opposed to breaks down on the way.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
And, what was really cool is what really helped feed the fetish. And that's the best way I can put it, is my best friend growing up, a gentleman named Brian. He was part of a ski club, and they would go up every Sunday. Hop on a bus and hop on a bus and go every Sunday. And he's like, "Ooh, you're skiing now. Hey, let's do Saturdays." So pretty much my first winter, I did 20 days.
Wow. That's pretty good for a first year.
It was great. And it was all money out of pocket.
Woo! So did that lead you into thinking you needed to get a job at the resort? Is that where this is leading at some point?
It didn't initially lead that way. What it is it's time, I'm graduating high school going, where do I want to go to college? And I'm like, let's see, I need to improve the, work on the building thing that I was like at the time I was liking. And I'm like, I also like skiing a lot. Where can I get both? And I found a college called Vermont Technical College. And at the time they had their own ski slope.
No way.
Old school. So this is in a town called Randolph Center, Vermont. And it was right on the college. They had, the old tractor wheel hooked up with a rope.
Yep.
And, so first year there, I'm like, oh, we're all into that. Well, if you ever seen the pictures of the old rope tows, this is in 89 or something like that. So that rope tow had one speed, and it was about 1,000 miles an hour.
Oh, no, those things are scary. Like if you're not, like you definitely don't want to grab them without gloves on. Put it that way. Like they're going fast.
Oh no! And if you were at a standstill, it would take your gloves off.
Yep.
Just pull them right off your hands. Like, okay, guess I'm not going. So, but through there, I was getting, my third year skiing, I did 75 days.
Woo.
The problem though is that there's no snowmaking on the rope tow. So it's like, okay, everyone's in class going, okay, we need snow. When's it coming? When's it coming? And we're like, it rained. It's icy. That'll do.
Wow. I know you guys are diehards. We've talked about that on the podcast a bunch. I mean, you guys are cut from a different cloth than us West Coast people. That's for sure. You guys are like skiing on leaves in the fall and skiing in rain in the spring. So you guys are good for it no matter what.
Yeah, whatever we can do to get the fix.
Yep.
One of the more amusing starts to my ski season, there was about 4 inches of snow, and I came over to the Mount Snow, which is somewhere quick where I can go from my house or when I'm working. And there was just enough snow to cover the grass, but not enough snow to flatten it. So I did, I did 12 runs. They're 5-minute runs. It doesn't take very long to walk up and ski down. 12 runs, 6 falls.
Oh, that's solid.
Well, every time you'd lay on the weight of, add the weight to the ski would break through the snow, and just stick to the grass, and over you go.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Well, so you go to you go to Vermont Tech, which I've never heard of. That's actually a new one for me, and they've got they got the little rope tow, but Are you basically skiing there through the entire time you're at school, just hammering like 70 days out every winter, or were you traveling around in Vermont, or how did that all go?
Well, so my first winter, I got, for some really weird reason, they don't, the college level racing that the college had, didn't require skill, thank God. And, they're far enough down the NCAA ladder that the initials were like really long. It looked more like a European name. And I joined the ski team, and that allowed me to get a really heavy discount to Sugarbush. And Sugarbush was 45 minutes away from the school.
Oh, yeah. And that's a little more hefty terrain for sure. I mean, better tree skiing, moguls, steeps.
So the rope tow was 106 feet long.
Oh, at the school?
Yeah. 106 feet. It was so they could run a short slalom or a short GS on it. So it had some pretty decent pitch, which made it even harder to go up. It was as hard to ride as the Alta rope tow.
Got it. That's funny. Yeah, and so you get to Sugarbush. I guess okay. So you're getting into college. You're doing racing. At what point do you see your first telemark skier? Because now you're getting in the zone. You're getting in the Mad River Sugarbush zone.
Yep.
Is this when you see telemark for the first time?
So it's a fun little anecdote I have. So for me to get to the first point of telemark. So my second year of college, rather than doing real homework, I'm going through, and this is really dating me, the Atlas book. And I'm highlighting ski areas. And I came across in Colorado, Crested Butte and Western State University now. But WSC, and I'm like, ooh, so I actually transferred schools.
Oh, no way.
third year of like 31 miles. I can do that. So I moved out to Gunnison, Colorado, and went to Crested Butte.
Oh, that's funny. There's so many East Coast guys and girls that have gone to Western State, I think exactly for that same reason. I mean,
we did it is nicknamed Wasted State.
Yeah.
Well, what really pops it off is when I went there, they had what was instead of 2 halves, it had a quarterly system. And so dead of the winter, there are there's an 8-week session. In the middle of the summer, there's an 8-week session. And then there's 2 12-week sessions, spring and fall. What that allowed you to do is you had to pick any 3.
Oh.
So I was taking the winters off.
Right. So you just got to ski, take a quarter off and just ski your brains out, basically.
Oh, yeah. And I actually got to rewind. So I got that pass to Sugarbush, and then I'm like, a buddy of mine's like, let's do patrol. And I'm like, great. So I went over to Sugarbush, and so I was on Sugarbush ski patrol for 2 weeks. And in that 2 weeks, I'm all excited, and I never bothered to ask if you earn any money. And
so you didn't know there was a volunteer ski patrol?
No, I didn't even occur to me to think of that. And they're like, okay. And so for all the volunteers, I'm like, excuse me, what? and so my second year, I had to tell them, no, I can't afford to get here if I don't earn some money.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So a couple of the guys I used to race sailboats with were, I use the term loosely, ski instructors at Mount Snow. That's what originally led me to Mount Snow. And then the following year, I headed out to Crested Butte. So I had a little bit of teaching background, enough to kind of get me in the door. And while at it, to kind of skip that whole East Coast part, once I was out at Crested Butte, a nice gal that I knew who used to teach. Well, yeah, she used to teach there. She's now, I believe, out of Beaver Creek. Was teaching a tele lesson for employees, and she's like, "Just come and do it." And so in 1996, I hopped into a tele lesson with the staff, and you'll love this, Merrill Super Comps. I couldn't tell you what the skis were. But Merrill Super Comps, and I believe it was not even a wired binding. I think it's just a standard 3-pin with a Merrill Super Comps.
That was your intro to tele from the staff clinic, basically.
Yep, it's just, hey, we have nothing to do. Let's go out and learn tele. I'm like, I'm on it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I would have never thought you ended up at the Butte. That's awesome. So
I spent 4 years there. Technically finishing college.
Good job. Well done. I wasn't sure. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I'm glad to know you got your degree.
Yep. No, I have. Yeah. I use the term lightly, degree, but it's a degree in business and recreation.
Ah, recreation being the 1 quarter that you took off to ski every year.
Right. Basically. It's one of those degrees where they give you credit for playing. That's
so funny. That's awesome. Well, so you take a clinic and you're working in the ski school. So is that kind of where, and that's kind of how I've always known you from afar, is kind of your association with instruction, PSIA stuff. And is that kind of where that began, was when you were in college teaching at Crested Butte? You kind of started the PSIA track, I guess.
Well, in college, it first started back east at Mount Snow, because ski patrol didn't, part-time ski patrollers didn't earn any money. And, well, I like beer.
Perfect.
So I switched over to something that allowed me to cover gasoline to go ski and, smart food and beer.
There you go.
And I know you're old enough to remember smart food.
Oh, yes.
And for our listeners out there, it's a really cheesy popcorn.
Like excessively cheesy.
Like squeezy cheesy.
That's so funny. I forgot about that stuff till you said that.
Oh, well, that was that and some sort of liquids. Oh, and ramen noodles.
So you were like full ski bum diet at that point.
Oh, I tried. Yeah, I really tried. Back in a much thinner day.
Oh man. Well, so when you started instructing, so you got Mount Snow, then you got the Crested Butte stuff. Were you primarily just teaching alpine lessons, or when did you take this Telemark intro lesson? Did you have the same passion for Telemark right off the bat that you do now, or was it something that kind of just came back and forth, as you were teaching and learning and practicing?
It was definitely something that evolved. My first handful of years, it was all about the alpine. Getting pretty good. I actually got pretty good at alpine. And it even got to the point. So in 96, I got my full certification on alpine. I got learned to tele, and I also ridiculously got certified on a snowboard. So kind of a cross discipline. I had extra, I'm at the mountain 7 days a week, but we're not allowed to work 7 days a week. So I'm like, well, I got 1 to 2 days a week to do other things. Let's explore. And so that's where I started picking up other things. And in 98, I graduated college and Western University, I don't know what it's called now, Western University, WSC. And my dad goes, you know what? Come back east for a year and hang out with me. I'm like, oh, okay. So I moved back to Mount Snow because he had a house up here. And I'd long since given up trying to stay with him because his level of party has always been well above mine, and I like to sleep occasionally.
Go Dad. Awesome.
Oh, Dad was a rock star. And if I had as much energy at his age, it would be a dream. Any rate, so as I came back east, I'm keeping going. I still have a little telly going on, and it really didn't really start to take off until I got some gear. Where the heck did I find the gear? Found a pair of atomic twin tips that were way too short. Some of the Rockefeller chili pepper bindings, they never broke on me. And a pair of the A Solo, oh goodness, what are the names of those A Solo boots? The one with that weird hinging toe. And
oh wow, you had a pair of Telebreeze.
The Telebreeze, yeah.
Wow.
So I had that was my first setup.
Wow.
Totally.
That's quite the mix, man. I'm not gonna lie.
It was, oh my God. It was like someone microwaved a box of crayons and it just swirled it together. There was nothing really good about that setup. But
plus that boot was around for like a year before they recalled it all. So the fact that you had one is pretty cool. I'll admit.
And it all worked really well. Well, I had the illusion of it all worked really well.
You didn't know any different. Yeah.
No, not even a little. And I'm like, hey, I'm getting a little bored with the Alpine. And kind of the same thing on the East Coast I had out west, and the my drive to improve on my snowboarding. That's a story for at the bar. So I stopped snowboarding. I started doing a little more telly, and at Mount Snow at the time, we had a young lady. She's older than I am, but a nice lady named Kirsten who was on patrol. Who kind of helped spark this, reignite the interest in telly for me. And you've got some gear? Great. I go out every Friday. Let's go play. And from there, it led me to take a PSIA clinic with who I call the grandfather of telly, John Tidd.
Oh, I've heard that name. I have heard that name. Yep.
So John Tidd, definitely one of my mentors at this point. He's based out of Killington. And hopefully I'm going to drag him to Big Sky next April. But I took a video clinic with him and he's like, you need to take the level 2. So I took the level 1 certification, the first level of certification. And then in the spring of that same year, this was 98, I think it was, I took my second tier of certification. And, this is where it really sparked off. Here's the name you do know, Mickey Stone.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Mickey, the first one, but yeah, I knew Mickey.
Yeah, it wasn't Mickey first.
No, I knew he'd be in the mix somewhere. You're in that zone, so that makes sense.
So I'm at the first day. We haven't even got on snow yet for the test. It's a test, so you create all sorts of nerves. Mickey comes over to me and goes, "Your stuff sucks. Take that crap off and use my stuff." So he gave me a whole setup. So I'm at a test on gear that I'd never been on ever. And I think it is either G3 or Rockefeller with the encapsulated piston, the hard wires.
Oh, gotcha. Yep.
And that was a radical jump up from the chili pepper.
Yeah, going to like an actual cartridge instead of a spring.
Oh, I know. And, the boot was, switched over to crispy. So I'm in the CXP, I think it was. It's a 3-buckle. Everything was just radically new. The ski was, my old ski was a 160. I'm now on a 180. And it's knee-deep powder.
On your test day?
On my test day. And we go down and I'm like, excuse the language here, holy crap, that was awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And although I hadn't started earning money on Tele yet, I now made that a goal to figure that out, how to do that from that point on. And that was in, I think it was 98 or 99.
That's pretty early. Yeah, that's cool, because that would have been, like you brought up kind of the usual characters, I think. I think Tid I've heard of, obviously Mickey Stone, in the PSIA world. And then did you start teaching Tele at Mount Snow at that point? I mean,
sort of.
Kind of, sort of.
At that time, there's a gentleman who you're not going to know, who was kind of the I'm trying to remember his last name. He died a while ago. Is it not Tom Halpin? Anyway, so we had a couple really top end cheerleaders, is what I call them for the sport, promoters of the turn, if you will. And one of them was a guy named Dave Borland out of the ski school. And I can't remember the gentleman's last name. Tom, who was out of the race department. They went and tellied almost every afternoon. At that time, they were the two that kind of had enough of the credentials that the ski school would, if there's any telly lessons that would come in, they would go to those two guys first. It was quite a few years before I started actually getting to teach at my home area.
But you were certified, so, and there's probably enough density with just resorts on the East Coast. Like, I mean, if you were level 2, and I mean, you're like, how long did it take you to go to the third level, which that's top tier, right? Third tier or third level's highest at this point.
Yeah, the third level's the highest. When did I do that one? Oh, I want to say 2001.
Oh, wow. So like a long time ago. Super long.
It was a while. I mean, don't quote me on the dates. I'd have to look that up, but it was quite a while ago, but it was, for me, the certification didn't matter. And what it was is I took that video clinic with John Tidd, and I'm like, oh my God, this is what I can do with improvement in 2 days. I want more. And we didn't have anybody who was above a level 1 at Mount Snow. That's the bottom level. And I'm like, I need to. So the tests ended up being the avenue to improve, more so than just going out and taking lessons with people. Just because I didn't have access to the bodies, the teachers.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, and I guess like any track that you take, and there's, I mean, quite frankly, there's no other track, I guess, of improvement, or you know what I mean? Like the fact that like PSIA does offer like this ability to like look at yourself, look from an instructional standpoint, and then have sort of like a level of improvement as you go along. So, I mean, that is unique to PSIA for sure.
It definitely is with PSA. But the other thing that would have been really cool is just, so something that happens at Alta and a little bit at Snowbird, and A Basin and places like that, and at Crested Butte in the 90s, is large groups of people out playing on telegear. For sure. Yeah. And Southern Vermont didn't have that.
Yeah, I was going to say, because like Mad River, I mean, obviously if you...
Mad River is that used to be the Mecca for the U.S., but definitely for the East.
Yep.
It's... The number of people telling there is still great. They still have a rental fleet that they let out, but they don't have quite the volume because the festival, they retired the festival. Yeah. When Dickie retired it, basically Dickie Hall, when he was done, it was done. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out. Yeah, like you said, I mean, Mad River was a hot spot for a really, really long time.
And, you had little pockets here and there, but it does seem like a shift. This is outside looking in, but, even since I've been doing this stuff, I was going to say even Killington was kind of had a decent stronghold because of, I'm blanking on the name.
Karen Delury. Base Camp Outfitters.
Base Camp. And did you hear he just sold?
Yep. He just sold.
Yep.
And I actually... so I went in there. The new owners are up and running.
Okay.
And the new owners love Telemark.
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah. That's good to hear, because I had read the piece that popped up, but I had not really followed up on it. So that's cool to hear. So they are going to continue to do the tele rentals.
That shop is fully up and running. They're going to do rentals and demos.
Oh, cool.
They're going to see if they can't take it more. And but he's not going to limit it to, it's basically an uphill downhill shop.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But Telly is going to be their primary form, which is kind of cool. And they're abbreviating the name. Instead of Base Camp Outfitters, it's just Base Camp.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
I think it's just a way to indicate without having to spend a lot of money.
Yeah, for sure. I probably need to update kind of my brain on that zone, because I haven't been driving through there. But yeah, that was always a stronghold. There was a guy in Rutland for a while. There was that was
the Mountain Goat, and they're done.
Yep, Onion River Sports and in Montpelier.
Yep.
I could go on and on. All these, but yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see how things form, and I think guys like you out there, are helping this, and so just to kind of put a kind of a cap on this whole thing. So you, at the end of all this PSIA training, you were just named a PSIA Telemark demo team member with one other guy, Jim Shaw from Winter Park. Tell us a little bit about that, what the demo team is, and kind of how that all came to be.
So the back in the early days, the PSIA demo team was truly a demo team. What we would do is, and at the time it was just Alpine because there wasn't anything else. They would take to the rest of the world at what they call Interski, an International Instructors Conference. And back then it wasn't a conference. It was actually, our system is better than yours. It was a testosterone fest. But it's been a long time since that happened. I would say, John Tidd and some of the earlier national team guys would be able to tell more about the specifics. But I would say in the 80s, definitely in the early 90s, they went from being a demo team to now it is a shared conference where you present how your ski is for your how you move for your country, but you also do indoor stuff. In 1984, John Tidd introduced the world to Telemark, not as a maneuver in Nordic skiing, but as in its own discipline inside of the Nordic discipline. He wasn't the only one. There's like 5 or 6 other guys doing it. And there was a few other countries that introduced that. And then in the early 90s, snowboarding got introduced. And now every 4 years, and the next one is in 2023 in Levi, Finland. Or I'm probably pronouncing, I think it's Levi.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah. And is the next one. And at that conference, we're going to be highlighting our fundamentals of skiing, not just snow sports, of all the disciplines, including cross country and telemark, as 2 complete separate disciplines for the first time ever.
Yeah, because the demo team traditionally up till now was a mixture of the Nordic and telemark discipline combined, correct? Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, so for the longest time, up until 2012, am I getting that one right? Yeah, 2012, when you went to go try out for the team, there was alpine, snowboard, and Nordic. And in Nordic, you had to be proficient at both classic and skate and telemark.
Wow, that's so much more to learn.
Oh my God, it was just overwhelming. So like I never made it to the national tryout at that point, but in 2012 I went to try out. And after they picked the people that were going to go to the tryout, they made telemark a specialty.
After that.
And yeah, for 2012 to 2016. And Jim Shaw was the first telemark specialist on the Nordic team.
Once they ditched the V1 and V2 maneuvers.
Well, what they did is they gave them their own group.
Yeah.
So we had, what do we have? We had 2 combos, 1 specialty cross country and 1 specialty telemark. And then from 2016 to 2021, because it was a little weird year, what they did is they had 2 telemark specialists, 2 cross country specialists, and a coach.
Oh, and that was all under the Nordic umbrella, essentially.
That was all under the Nordic umbrella, and that's when Grant Bishop and Greg Dixon were on the team as team members. And then we moved to the current team, where we now have a telemark coach and 2 team members and a Nordic coach and 2 team members. And so we're the first, this is the first time that both teams are completely separate, including a coach.
That's cool. No, I like that. And I think that's a good direction. I mean, personally, and you know, I'm not involved with PSIA or anything like that, but I've always, it's good to see that separation, because it always seems like when you have to mix Nordic and telemark, although it is a Nordic downhill technique, I understand the history of it. It does. You're talking 2 totally different communities. You know what I mean? So, it's
radically different too, especially where, unfortunately, the 2 of us that are on the team were not the youngest of the crowds.
Right.
I'm 50 and Jim is, let's just say not 50.
Shout out to Jim Shaw.
Oh yeah. And it's, I would say that our focus is going to be very heavily on applying some of these new fundamentals where we have a better grasp on helping people with their people skills, their teaching skills, and their technical skills. So I know we have a lot to do with getting that accomplished and being able to get all the different divisions working together to promote similarity across the divisions without losing our uniqueness at the same time. Because, the way you ski in the East, the movements in the East, the blending of our skills are a little bit different than how you do when the snow's always soft.
For sure. You brought up the exact, I'm glad you brought that up, because see, I was kind of getting on, well, I'm always getting on Scotty McGee's case. Who is he the coach? I don't know. How is that?
So let me roll through. And although I'm technically on the telemark team, I still consider telemark and cross country, we're all Nordic. And so even though we're not going to get to train as much together, our new Nordic team members, oh my God, they rip on their skate skis on the downhill. They rip. Full on cross country boots on straight skis with double cambered. They can carve. But so we have, I'm not going to say her last name correctly. Thule and Zeke are team members, and they both have the longest names possible. And I actually don't know how to pronounce Zeke's last name. And then we have Emily. What's Emily? I want to say Beeman. I don't think that's right, but Emily, who was the previous team member, who's now the coach. And then on the telemark side, Dixon, who was a team member, is now the coach
Oh,
of the
got it.
Telemark team. Yeah.
Okay.
And Jim Shaw and myself are the new team members, which is, it still hasn't sunk in yet.
No, that's awesome. And congrats on that. And yeah, no, I like I said, I think the separation's good, but you know, obviously Nordic, I only think in terms of like, okay, Telemark and how you're talking about promoting and all that. And I wanted to go real quick, and you brought up the style thing. And see, this has always been my hang up. And that's why I brought Scotty up, because when I had him on the podcast, I asked some sort of a similar question is, my difficulty, and it's not just picking on PSIA, but obviously living in the US, that's this governing body of instruction, right? So I'm curious as how do, maybe what your opinion is on this is, how do you tackle the concept of style and individuality, like in telemark technique? Maybe individuality is not the greatest word, but I think you get the point. Is there room for style within technique? That's the question.
I am a full fan of yes, there is.
Okay.
And it's so when we're taking a test, there are some basic maneuvers that we can't avoid, because the maneuvers, specifically a basic telemark turn, which used to be called an open telemark turn. It's just kind of a wide, skiddy, steery thing. So it's not, to me, those are not something that we can deal with style, because it's under the best circumstances, this is how it moves as a representation for a student. And it's like, they're like a wedge turn. You know, there is a wedge turn that you demonstrate to a student. Then there's the wedge turn that you do because there's a tree in the way and you got to change directions.
Right.
And so in the ski teaching tests, there's going to be maneuvers that you have to adapt your body characteristics to, whether you're good at it or not. And then once we get away from the tests, to me, style comes in. And one of the reasons I really love Tele is I find that if it feels good on a pair of Tele skis, it's going to be an efficient, fun movement. And to me, it really boils down to, and it's really the racing that really helped do this. I don't care what somebody looks like coming down the hill, if you're achieving the goal of what you want to do coming down. So my racers want to get faster, so I'm going to help them with techniques to help them get faster. Yeah. But my general public, they're not looking to get faster, but I can use some of those same characteristics to make them more efficient so they can ski all day.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and it's like, so the same fundamentals can help us get to both directions. The key is I want to make sure the students' goals are met, because, you know, I get it from my woodworking as well. I don't actually care what the end product is. I like doing the work for woodwork. And with ski teaching, my only goal is helping you with your goal. And that's the fun part I like about this is it's, you know, I'm not really I don't want to mold you into my image. I want to mold you into your best self.
Right. And trying to utilize, like you said, techniques that are, you know, deemed probably more efficient, you know, and something that's going to help you from that side. No, I like that, because that's always been my hang up with making instruction too robotic, I guess. Like, it really is. Like, I like systemization. I love systemization, but I also know that systematizing things sometimes can take out those individual characteristics. And that's the challenge, right? Like you said, like it's, you know, you could use similar things for a racer and an average person, but you know, like not, and it doesn't sound like you're too rigid. You're like, hey, you know, if you have I always think like counter rotation's a great one in Tele, because Yeah, you need to learn how to counter rotate your body to get good edge hold, for instance. But
Yep.
what about that guy that likes to sweep that inside arm like he's surfing, kind of grabbing at the snow? Like, is he counter rotating enough, or is the style point going to get him, kicked off the hill? So I always think of stuff like that because I watch guys, I'll do that, swipe that inside hand because it feels surfy and fun. And
oh, it's awesome.
Right. But I always wonder if some PSIA guy is going to call me out on the hill and be like, yo, bro, that counter rotation's terrible. Your inside arm, it needs to be forward.
I would, it's when we get critical. Yeah, I've caught myself doing it too. But you know what? The only time that matters is when I say, I need you to do this on this task during a test.
Right.
And you don't. Okay. Because for me, the most effective way to ski is what is efficient for that moment in time on that snow. So for instance, if you have an 80-pound pack on and you sweep those arms through, you swing those arms through a turn, that might not be the best way to come down the hill.
Right. For sure.
And because I've caught myself, out in the backcountry, swing that upper body and whoop, hey, I'm lying on my back.
No.
Like, oops.
No, that's funny. Yeah, no, and I think that answers the question. Like I said, you got to know. I think both of us agree. You got to know the rules to then bend the rules a little bit, and like
the more they understand, the easier it is to adapt to the individual.
For sure. Yeah, it's like music, right? Like if you know the bass, you can't just go strum a guitar and like think it's going to sound good. But if you know the basics of an instrument, you can then tweak the music and innovate on it. But
I'm the perfect example of you need to learn more if you're not smart enough. Because when I make noise on an instrument, and I can't call it music, when I make noise on an instrument, it's like dragging a wet cat across a chalkboard.
Yeah, no, I'm glad we made that point because it always makes me laugh. The moment in time thing you said really resonates because sometimes we'll post pictures on like social media and stuff, and it always gets me.
So picky.
Oh, well, people will literally, and there's only a couple, but some people will literally pick it apart and just be like, your technique for XYZ is not correct. And I'm like, oh, geez, it's a photo. It's a moment in time. It's a snapshot. Like, don't get too worked up about, where the arm position's at, or it's just super funny to me.
It hurts my brain to hear that. And I see it a lot too. And, like every tele skier I know with a decent fundamental skill has been caught doing a super low tele position to try to milk that last moment of powder that we can.
Yep. No, for sure.
Is it efficient? Only if you're trying to get more powder.
Yeah, totally. Well, I wanted to touch base real quick on, because I knew you from the race stuff too, and tell me, we talked mostly about PSIA and the demo team stuff, but obviously you've been involved in the race stuff, and I'm trying to even think, somewhere along the line I knew of you from the USTSA stuff, United States Telemark Ski Association, for those of you who don't know, and they're sort of the governing body of most people associated with racing, although it's more promotional towards Telemark. But how did you get involved with USTSA stuff? And what was that whole? Were you a racer yourself at one point?
So back in college, I used to race Alpine.
Okay.
Wasn't pretty, but I used to race Alpine. I have no awards from that. But I was, I gravitated towards, this is back in the day, when freestyle kind of took a break, from the late 70s until, the early 2000s. And so it was all kind of, grooming took into effect. And it's when they started all the grooming, they're really the only thing a little more radical to do was race. And I gravitated towards that. And then one thing led to another, and I wanted to push my tele skills. And so I signed up for the U.S. championships that were in Gunstock in 2011.
Okay.
and I ended up going over to Gunstock, and I raced the non-elite category, and as Mickey Stone put it, sandbagged, and
beat everybody,
swept the podium.
Oh geez.
And there's a photo for me there, and it's hysterical. There I am standing on the top tier. The other two tiers were lower, and the two guys standing on them were still taller than me.
Did you show up to the non-elite category in a race suit? That's the question.
Yeah, I did, but I had one from Alpine.
full sandbag status right there. You show up in a race suit for like civilian category or citizen category.
Totally. But the other two guys did as well.
Okay, fair enough. That's good. That's awesome.
But after doing that, Mickey, who I was on the first tier of Ed staff, where both mostly just trained, working towards becoming a tester, an examiner. And I wanted more. And so that led me to Gunstock. That led me to sandbagging. And that also led me to the big catalyst of joining the national team and getting to work with Ty Upton.
Oh, was Ty in Steamboat? Am I thinking?
Yes. Okay. Yep. He at the time and for a long time he was the head coach for the U.S. team. Based out of Steamboat, has a big race, or had a big race program, tele program out there at Steamboat in the Winter Sports Club.
Got it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because they were over at the Winter. Yeah. Okay. Because I was trying to put names in my head there. I'm doing the same thing. I'm blanking on last names, but that was sort of Shane's era, kind of 2012-ish. Am I thinking about that right? Shane, or is that later?
I think that might have been Shane's either the last year or the year before that. But yeah, Shane, he dominated for a long time. And I like my joining the team while he was on we didn't overlap.
Oh, okay. What was Shane's last name? Why am I blanking?
Oh, good God.
We both can't remember. Sorry, Shane, if you listen to the podcast.
Sorry, Shane. But now he's actually come back in the scene a little bit when we do. So we were at Eldora a few years ago, and he and Tori were over. Tori Hauser were over helping us out.
Gotcha. Okay. So you race. So without going too deep in the race stuff, here's my big question for racers, and it's kind of cool because you've got the PSIA stuff and you got the race stuff. But in your experience, with racing, I've got limited experience. I raced like 2000 to 2002, totally different era. But even back then, there was this talk of we need telemark racing in the Olympics. This is always the question. So I guess question one, does it need to be in the Olympics? And two, what will that accomplish? Because I'm always curious about this. I see multiple sides of this, but I'm curious, you having been a racer on the team, and just like what would it do for telemark? Would it do as much as people think it will?
It depends. It really depends. And I use the cross country side as a perfect example. So back in the early 80s, I forget which year it was exactly, a gentleman named Bill Koch won the first medal in cross country skiing, and came back, and cross country exploded, absolutely exploded. So there are cross country ski areas all over the country still, with kids programs happening all over the U.S. because of him. Now in 2012, Keegan Randall and her Jessie Diggins, they won the first women's team gold medal. And the challenge there was, in the right circumstance, that should have given cross-country skiing a huge boost. But because of mass media's lack of attention, there was no real bump in the industry for cross-country outside of what was already going on. The kids that were already into cross-country now wanted to compete, but there weren't people outside of the sport wanting to jump in. So if I relate that to Telly, and to help, my background is, so I am the current head coach for the U.S. Telly team and was involved in trying to get the Olympics going in 2022, which it's gone further than it's ever gone. But what it's really going to do is it may not make the sport bigger, but I think what it'll do is what I'm hoping it'll do is it'll legitimize the people that are in the sport. And we can maybe bring back sponsorship to athletes who can then train appropriately for a sport that requires a significant amount of effort to train for. So right now, a lot of the countries, the athletes spend all summer earning money so they can then take the winter off to train. And, so countries like Germany, Switzerland, France, and Britain get governmental sponsorship. And the countries that don't have that cannot compete with athletes that are dedicated to training year round.
For sure.
And so I would like it to give legitimacy to the sport in the eyes of people who are not part of Telly. I like the rate. I see the sport as growing, but we grow by sucking in one person at a time. And I'm okay with that because I think we pull in more than physically retire, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But it would be nice to know that our gear on a whim of a bad season could vanish in parts of the country.
So you're current president? I should have known that before I hopped on the podcast.
No, it's okay. I'm the vice president. I've been the vice president for US Telly since 2012.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
When I went, hey, I want to help. What would you like to do? And they're like, and you're now the VP. I'm like, oh crap.
You're like, but be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. I don't know if I was the source of this. I'm not going to claim to be, but I've always been a big proponent that we have two parts of U.S. Telemark Ski Association. There is the U.S. ski team part.
Yep.
That's racing and competitiveness. And then there's the U.S. Telemark Association, which is doing very much what you guys are doing at Free Heel Life, which is promoting all things telemark.
Right.
Yep. And so having those two entities kind of working, really doing whatever we can, we're not as efficient as getting it on the website as you guys are at Free Heel Life, where we get all things in all parts of the world in there. But I try to make sure that our website's got all the festivals up and running, as well as all the U.S. races in there as well. And I am the one that helped create, so there's a Masters team, and purposely we don't call it a Masters race team. So as a Masters category, that's somebody that's 18 and older, we have a category where if you'd like to work on your racing, there's that route. Oh,
cool. That's cool.
But if you'd like to work on sport promotion, maybe racing isn't you're not really into racing. We've got a bunch of parents that are doing it where they're at events. They'll go to festivals and they'll go to other things and they'll promote Telly in that aspect. And I still want, so to me, that Masters category has two tracks, and you don't have to pick one or the other. And so that's been a really big push where we have team members whose sole purpose is less racing and more sport promotion. So they'll come to the U.S. Nationals and they'll help volunteer, or they'll go over to the Kari Festival, Telemark Festival at Bromley,
Yep.
What was it? It's the first weekend after President's Day every year. And all you have to do is, if you go to one event related to telemark in some capacity, that's enough to keep you in good standings for the U.S. Telemark Ski Association.
Oh, that's cool. I I knew that's what I was trying to kind of mention that. Like, I think people think of USTSA as race oriented, but I think the nonprofit status, I remember when I've done stuff with USTSA in the past, was the promotion of telemark. So I mean, that's what it was set up for, back in the day. So yeah.
Chris, the gentleman that started it, that was their primary focus was to kind of have a national body for telemark promotion, which also led into racing, because you need a national body regardless to race internationally.
Sure. Who was that? Chris Rice? It wasn't Chris Rice, was it? Don't even remember.
I think it is Chris Rice. I mean,
is an early telly race guy from the East Coast. I just was wondering if that's who it was. That's awesome, man. Well, I think, man, you got your hands full. I thought I had my hands full. VP at USTSA, new telemark demo team member, and PSIA instructor extraordinary, Mount Snow. What else you got your hands in?
Well, the whole national team thing, I have no idea. So right now I have 3 weeks booked travel without even thinking about it automatically every year. There's we do a big instructors conference, come play and learn some stuff in the end of the season. It's the National Academy. So that'll be at Big Sky the next 3 years in April. So I'll be out there for a week. Then there's a fall conference, usually in usually Loveland or something like that in Colorado, where all the divisions get together and work on educational materials. So I'll be at that for a week. And then there's a bunch of different travel. So we're going to try our best to be able to go every year to have at least one representative from the national team go to each regional training. And so that's Central Division and, like Ohio and places like that. So all over the country. And there's 8 divisions. And so that's another week's worth of travel.
Oof. You got your hands full, man.
And the biggest one is, so Scotty McGee started a few years ago, Intertelly.
Yep.
And Intertelly possibly will be in late March, very early April at Panorama in Western Canada.
Oh, yeah. I forgot he did mention it, because that was supposed to happen this year, but it got bumped because of the COVID stuff. So. Oh,
yeah. You can come here, but you can't leave.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So we'll have to, that'd be good to have you guys on. If that's going to happen next spring, it'd be good to connect with you guys and talk a little bit about that before it all goes down.
Oh, absolutely. Love to do whatever we can to help with that too.
Yeah. Love that.
Because I know right now the U.S. ski team and the Canadian ski team, Telly, are both kind of in works very, very loosely to try to get the World Cup back on this continent for Telly.
Oh, cool.
And I mean, we have no details yet. We're not pushing it on anybody. I'm a big fan. We want to promote Telly through encouragement rather than force it upon others, because we don't want to give anybody a bad taste.
Yeah, that's always a good way to go.
And, so it would be great if we could tie some sort of event to the Panorama timeline, but it's hard to know what's going to happen with that, because Western Canada and Eastern Canada are kind of 2 separate organizations.
Yeah.
And everything's up in the air.
Yeah. Well, I think as we get into the fall, we can kind of suss out, and definitely let us know your guys' schedule. And when Love to know more. So I'm glad we connected on this though, because this is good. I know you've done a better job than I have of always reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm here. Here's what we're doing." So I think this is a good way to get us going and just kind of pay better attention to whatever you guys have going on, whether it's demo team stuff, intertele, racing, USTSA, stuff.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna plug one more thing.
Yeah, hop in.
So the Telemark Academy, which is the 19th, the night of the 19th through the 22nd of April, I believe, this coming year. We may be doing a fun gathering Monday, Tuesday prior to that, which is 17th, 18th, or 18th, 19th, something like that. And we'd mentioned it as a team, but we have not done anything formal. But so I figure the podcast will be a way to light a fire.
Cool.
Is do a national team member fun reunion just play for a couple days that Monday, Tuesday before National Academy
up at Big Sky.
Yeah.
Nice.
And my intention is, apparently I have a following on the East. Didn't know that until I made tryouts, and I had 176 text messages.
Oh, geez.
Not 20 minutes after the announcement was complete.
Wow. That's awesome.
I didn't know I knew that many people.
I think you should make it a requirement that if you're an old national team member, you can go play, but you have to only ski on the tele gear from the year that you were on the national team.
Oh, I'm okay with that.
You're the most modern one, so you're stoked. No,
it'd be great.
All the 80s guys are going to be like, what are you talking about? Come on.
They're like, oh, like John Tibb was like, screw that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But
funny.
That's the part of now that I finally made the team. So through you and Mickey Stone, the podcast and the history of the gear, I've got a little museum that I've put together on the evolution of the telebinding, just in my own workshop.
Oh, and you did. I saw a picture of this. You might have texted me a photo at one point.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
I figure if I respond to somebody, it's never in a way that they have to respond back, unless it's that way I don't have to worry about it. But so yeah, I have nowhere near every binding. I thought it was going to be a lot smaller than I thought. I'm at 28 different models currently, and I've just scratched the surface.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's a rabbit hole, man. We'll have to compare notes, because I'm sure there's some missing pieces along the way. We can both benefit from our collection.
Oh, I know. And I've even gone as far as I actually have a list. G3 is the only company I do not have their full evolution data, since they're waiting to hear back from. And then I'm missing 2 years of evolution of Black Diamond, since they had to go to their archives to find it. And then COVID hit, and the lady I was chatting with about it, it's like, I'm going to need to get back to you. But I actually have I put together a spreadsheet on every model of telebinding, not that I have, that exists. And it's still scratching the surface.
Oh, man.
We
might have to collaborate on that. That's some intense. I might have to I'd love to see that, because especially if you're getting into the BD stuff, I've got some really cool little weird versions to fill in the gaps that'll trip your brain out.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's why I still haven't I got to get over to the Free Heel Life shop, and I still haven't had a chance to get over there, but next year, new year.
Yeah. No, for sure. There's some fun little history.
Now that I've made the team, I now don't have to focus quite so heavily on all my training. And now I can finally use because all the gear that I have is usable.
All the old stuff, you mean?
Every pair.
That's awesome.
Well, no, not every pair. I've got a pair from 1810, and so they're a pair. It's a 98-inch long ski, hand bent ski from Norway, And I got to redo the leather, but I finally found a leathersmith in my area, so she can help me
refashion the strap,
so I can actually strap the skis on there. I'm actually fairly horrified about trying those, but they look like they'd be a lot of fun.
I want to see a video of that. If you're skiing 1800 skis, man.
Oh God, they're huge. The bigger issue is like you can't ride them on the chair unless you carry them, because there's the pair predates the heel strap.
Oh, it's a toe strap.
Just the toe cup.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Just volet strap your foot to it or something. Good to go.
I can do that. We have. I got a bunch of the 22 design volet straps.
There you go. Styling. That's awesome.
And I have the boots. I have a generation of boots to match the skis.
That's solid, man. I would love it. Yeah, we'll have to compare notes on that. That's awesome.
And I've seen some of the footage of you out there on your lace-up leathers.
Oh yeah.
Your skill is way stronger than mine on those.
Oh, we'll initiate you when you come out, man. I got plenty of pairs for you. No problem.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Old school and new school.
I would love that. Well, thanks. This was awesome, man. I had a lot of fun talking, and appreciate you taking the time. And like I said, yeah, any time. I mean, it sounds like we got a whole nother topic on the collection stuff. And just stay in touch, and I'm glad that you're out there pushing it so hard on the East Coast, and hopefully with the demo stuff as that starts coming up, and the national team meetup and Intertelly, and a lot. Anytime you need us to give a shout out, just let me know what's going on, and we'll help push it out there.
Oh, absolutely. And to help is Green Mountain College. I may have a line on a whole bunch of used tele gear that we can move to.
Oh, cool. Yeah, let me know, man. I'm always down.
And who's your gear guy up at the shop?
Nate. Nate is our used gear guy. Yep.
So he and I have already chatted about the possibility of me flooding the market with 200 sets of gear.
Woo!
And I'm like, oh my God, that's potentially 200 new people teleskiing.
Hey, that's good. Whoever can get it out there, that's what we want.
That's our plan.
Yeah. So. All right, brother. Well, thanks for coming on, man, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you very much, and spread the turn.
Spread Telemark, baby. See you, man. Peace.
Bye.
Always great talking to a fellow collector of old tele gear. I kind of forgot that he had gotten into that, so that was good to kind of get into that a little bit and talk about his collection. And I always enjoy comparing notes with those out there. But yeah, what a fascinating conversation about everything from racing to the PSIA stuff. And I always like to get more insight on that. Like I mentioned, if you haven't dug into a little more on the PSIA stuff, there's a great podcast with Scotty McGee. Spoke with him. He has been a huge part of that organization for many, many years and helping kind of keep that going. And I'm always fascinated by those folks that are PSIA certified and they dig into it and they really fine tune that level of instruction. So congrats to Keith on being named with Jim Shaw to the Telemark demo team and also giving us some insight into what's going on at the USTSA. So great conversation. Always enjoy those ones, and always great to get to know other folks in the telemark world and what they're up to. So thanks for listening today. I always appreciate it. You can connect with me on the social medias at Josh Nomadson. You can always check out telemarkskier.com like I keep plugging. I would love for you to become a subscriber. We're putting up more premium content and weekly, and would love for you to get to know what we are up to. And we decided to launch in the spring so we can kind of fine tune things over the summer and have it all nice and neat as we head into next winter. but it's because of you that we're doing that. And I am a true believer that we need our own news source and a place where you can find all the information. If you're just looking for gear, you can always go to freeheellife.com and shop for your Telemark goodies. We've still got stuff on sale. If you follow us on the Instagrams or the mailing list, I've been putting up some stuff, just kind of some overstock that's been there that instead of having it sit around, we might as well give you a really good deal on it. So stay tuned to that, or you can message us at customerservice@freeheellife.com with any questions about that. We are a little shorter staffed, obviously, in the summer, but we are answering emails as we get to them. So thank you for your patience ahead of time. You can always email me direct at podcast@freeheellife.com. And if you have any questions regarding the podcast, Protector 95 and 105 skis, what's going on with telemarkskier.com, you can all shoot them over to either podcast@freeheellife.com, customer service @freeheellife.com, and we will help you out. Hopefully you are having a fantastic spring, and don't forget to stay in shape so you can drop knees all winter long. And until next week, spread Telemark always, my friends. Peace out.